Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa. The story of resurgent and burgeoning Africa is here, only on the Pulse of Africa channel. Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa.
Hello and welcome. I'm Edom Masai with POE News for the hour. We'll start with Nigeria's Calabar Carnival. Thousands of revelers flooded the streets of Calabar in southern Nigeria as the annual Calabar Carnival lit up the city with music, dance, and colorful costumes. Held every December in Cross River State, the festival attracts about 2 million visitors from across Nigeria and beyond, earning its title as Africa's biggest street party. This year's carnival featured strong participation from the ECOWAS community and international partners celebrating shared history, culture, and regional unity. Participants and spectators described the event as a time for joy, reunion, and community bonding, with families and friends coming together in celebration. Founded in 2004, the Calabar Carnival was created to promote tourism and hospitality and has grown into Nigeria's largest and most internationally recognized cultural festival. Botswana has reinforced livestock movement controls to protect its agricultural sector from the spread of the foot and mouth disease, FMD, linked to outbreaks in neighboring South Africa. The Ministry of Lands and Agriculture said strict restrictions now apply to the movement of cloven-hoofed animals in border districts within a 10-kilometer radius of the South African boundary. Acting Director of Veterinary Services, Kobedi Segale, said cattle, goats, sheep, pigs and wildlife cannot be moved out of the restricted zones, except for direct slaughter at licensed facilities for local consumption, while exports from the areas are prohibited. Movement within the zones requires permits, and the importation of cloven-hoofed animals and fresh animal products from South Africa remains banned, with authorities urging the public to report illegal movements. The measures come as South Africa battles widespread FMD outbreaks across 7 provinces, tightening regional trade, while Botswana moves to safeguard its FMD-free status, which underpins its vital beef export industry.
New roads, hotels, and services are welcoming visitors to Ethiopia's historic sites and natural wonders. Tourism creates jobs and celebrates our culture. Investing in visitors invests in our future.
Archaeologists have uncovered a 9,500-year-old cremation pyre in northern Malawi, believed to be the oldest in the world to contain adult human remains. The discovery offers rare insight into burial rituals practiced by ancient African hunter-gatherer communities. The pyre was found in a rock shelter near Mount Hora and contained about 170 bone fragments from an adult woman. Researchers say the remains were deliberately burned, making it the earliest confirmed intentional cremation in Africa. Some bones showed cut marks, suggesting parts of the body were removed before cremation. Scientists say this was likely part of a funeral ritual, not violence. Certain bones may have been taken away as symbolic tokens, similar to how people today keep ashes or personal items of loved ones. The cremation site also included ash, charcoal, and stone tools, indicating careful planning and coordination. The body appears to have been moved during the burning, showing the process was complex and meaningful. Researchers say the finding challenges old ideas about early hunter-gatherers, showing they had advanced belief systems and social traditions. The discovery highlights Africa's deep and sophisticated human history, dating back thousands of years. A magnitude 5.0 earthquake struck southern Papua New Guinea on Saturday morning, hitting about 33 kilometers south-southwest of Mendi in the Southern Highlands province. The quake occurred at 11:26 a.m. local time, and while its exact depth has not been confirmed, it is believed to have been shallow. Residents close to the epicenter reported feeling the tremor, with shaking also noted in surrounding communities. In Mount Hagen, around 96 kilometers northeast of the epicenter, people likely experienced weak shaking. Much lighter tremors were reported in more distant areas, including the capital Port Moresby, over 500 kilometers away. Initial reports suggested the earthquake was felt across a wide area, with some residents reporting movement up to about 250 kilometers from the epicenter. At least 2 people have confirmed feeling the quake so far. There have been no immediate reports of injuries or damage. Authorities are continuing to assess the situation and gather further information as monitoring continues. Ghana's cedi has recorded its first full-year appreciation against the US dollar in more than 3 decades, driven by strong rally in gold prices, rising foreign reserves, and a weaker greenback. The currency has gained about 41% this year, its first annual rise since at least 1994, making it the world's second best performing currency after the Russian ruble, according to Bloomberg data. A major boost came from the launch of Gold Bond in May, a state entity created to buy gold from small-scale miners, formalize production, and curb smuggling. Gold prices have had their strongest year since 1979, with Gold Bond exporting over 25,700 kilograms in the third quarter, slightly exceeding output from large-scale mines. Fiscal discipline has also restored confidence. Spending cuts following Ghana's debt restructuring reduced dollar demand, while President John Mahama's administration has committed to tighter public finances under its $3 billion IMF program. The budget deficit is expected to narrow to 2.8% of GDP this year and 2.2% by 2026. Lower deficits and easing inflation have lifted investor sentiment, with Ghana's restructured dollar bonds returning over 30% this year. Meanwhile, the central bank boosted gold purchases, raising gross international reserves by 24% to $11.4 billion by October, reinforcing the cedi's strongest run in a generation. Digital platforms and mobile technology are reshaping women's economic participation across Africa, giving millions access to income, entrepreneurship, and financial services once out of reach. As connectivity expands, women are increasingly bypassing traditional barriers such as limited banking access and startup financing. Progress is visible, but uneven. The African Women's Inclusion Index shows women's financial and economic inclusion across 42 countries rose by about 17% between 2011 and 2022. World Bank data also points to rising bank account ownership and a narrowing gender gap, largely driven by mobile money and digital finance. In West Africa, Ghana and Nigeria highlight the shift. In Ghana, 63% of women now hold formal financial accounts, while mobile money adoption has supported female-led startups. Nigeria has seen mobile banking usage jump by around 40% in 5 years, even as some women still rely on informal savings due to trust concerns. From e-commerce marketplaces to fintech and direct selling platforms, digital entrepreneurship is offering women flexible, low-cost entry into business. As access to mobile tools grows, women across Africa and Asia are turning connectivity into opportunity, driving a quiet but transformative shift in financial inclusion. Next up, sport news. The knockout stage of the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations, AFCON, has kicked off with traditional heavyweights asserting their dominance, even as a new generation of contenders signals a shift in the continental football landscape. As the tournament moves into this decisive phase, margins for error have narrowed and the intensity on the pitch has risen sharply. Tournament favorites such as Senegal, Morocco, and Algeria have largely lived up to expectations, combining experience with tactical discipline to progress from the group stage. Their performances have reinforced their status as title challengers, with star players stepping up at crucial moments and defensive structures proving difficult to break down. At the same time, several emerging teams have captured attention with fearless displays and tactical maturity beyond their years. Nations including Cape Verde, Guinea and Equatorial Guinea have shown they are no longer content with underdog status, pushing established sides and in some cases securing historic knockout qualifications. The knockout phase has also highlighted the growing depth of African football, with matches decided by fine details such as set pieces, goalkeeping brilliance, and late game composure. Coaches have been forced to adapt quickly, balancing cautious game management with the need to seize decisive moments. As AFCON 2025 enters its most dramatic stretch, the tournament is shaping up as a blend of tradition and transformation. While the favorites remain firmly in contention, the rise of new challengers suggests a more competitive future for African football, where reputations alone are no longer enough to guarantee success. Up next are the latest weather updates from the region. Before wrapping up, let's remind you to watch the upcoming program editorial. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
This is Editorial from Pulse of Africa, the voice and face of Africa.
Leave Horn seas for Horn people. Ports in the Horn of Africa such as Djibouti, Berbera and Mogadishu are strategically vital due to their proximity to key global trade routes and their role as gateways to the Red Sea and Indian Ocean. Djibouti in particular serves as a major transshipment hub and hosts significant military bases from various countries. The regional sea lane, especially the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, is a critical choke point that facilitates international maritime commerce connecting the Mediterranean and Red Sea to the Indian Ocean, making it essential for global trade and energy supplies. The area's strategic significance has led to increased military presence and competition among global powers like the US, China and regional actors, vying for influence and control with ongoing trends indicating a persistent contest over access, security and economic interest in this geopolitically sensitive corridor. The Horn of Africa, a geopolitically strategic region at the crossroads of Africa, the Middle East and Asia, is rapidly becoming the focal point of a new scramble for ports and military bases. This surge of interest from both regional and extra-regional powers reflects shifting geopolitical alignments and underscores the region's critical importance in global trade, security, and influence. In recent years, countries such as China, the United States, Russia, and the United Arab Emirates, and Turkey have intensified their presence through investments, military agreements, and strategic partnerships, often cloaked in overt and covert motives. This emerging competition heightens regional tensions, threatens stability, and risks entrenching conflicts that could have far-reaching consequences for Africa and beyond. Historically, the Horn of Africa has been a nexus of trade, migration, and strategic military interests, but the current dynamics mark a significant escalation. The Suez Canal and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait are vital choke points for global commerce, especially for energy supplies and goods moving between Asia and Europe. Control over ports and bases in Djibouti, Eritrea, Somalia, and the breakaway Somaliland offers unparalleled leverage over these critical waterways. Djibouti, often dubbed Africa's geostrategic hub, exemplifies this trend, hosting military bases for the United States, France, China, and Saudi Arabia, among others. China's establishment of its first overseas military base in Djibouti in 2017, part of its Belt and Road Initiative, symbolizes a shift from purely economic investments to a strategic military positioning. While Beijing claims its presence is purely for peacekeeping and anti-piracy efforts, the implications for regional and global security are profound. The United States, long a dominant military presence in the region, faces mounting competition. Its base at Camp Lemonnier in Djibouti has been pivotal in counter-terrorism operations, but the strategic calculus is changing. Washington's focus on great power rivalry, particularly with China and Russia, has led to efforts to bolster regional partnerships, often through covert means. Russia, for instance, has re-entered the Horn's geopolitics with increased diplomatic and military engagement, including the establishment of a naval facility in Sudan. These actions signal Moscow's intent to project power and influence in an arena historically dominated by Western interests. Meanwhile, regional actors such as the United Arab Emirates and Turkey are vying for influence. The UAE has invested heavily in port infrastructure and maritime security, especially in Somaliland and Puntland, seeking to expand its strategic footprint. Similarly, Turkey's interest in Somalia and the wider region are motivated by economic opportunities and a desire to extend its soft power through diplomatic and military ties. These new entrants are often motivated by overt economic gains, but their actions are frequently intertwined with covert agendas such as intelligence gathering, influence operations, and support for allied factions. The motives behind this new scramble are multifaceted. For external powers, gaining access to the Horn's ports and bases offers strategic advantages, control over maritime routes, intelligence capabilities, and regional leverage. For regional states such as Ethiopia, external partnerships and investments is driven by economic needs, security concerns, and the desire to reassert and regain maritime sovereignty in the face of internal and external challenges. Recent attempts of Egypt at influence in the region, for instance, is seen as yet a refreshed ambition that often collide with the region's aspirations for stability and development, creating a complex wave of alliances, rivalries, and conflicts. The second most populous country in Africa, Ethiopia, feels, and rightly so, increasingly encircled by a hostile alliance preoccupied in denying Ethiopia deserving sea access, thereby undermining its prospects to grow and prosper. The risks associated with this trend are manifold. First, the militarization of the Horn of Africa risks exacerbating existing conflicts, particularly in Somalia, where clan rivalries and insurgencies persist. External military presence could be exploited by local factions to deepen divisions or as leverage in regional power struggles. Second, the influx of foreign military bases and investments increases the likelihood of accidental clashes, miscommunications, or escalations, especially given the region's fragile security environment. Third, the scramble could undermine regional sovereignty, with powerful external actors shaping internal politics to serve their interests. Economically, while port investments and infrastructure projects promise development, they also bring risks of debt dependency, environmental degradation, and social dislocation. The economic benefits are often skewed towards foreign investors, with local populations seeing limited gains. Politically, the competition for influence can lead to proxy conflicts, destabilizing governments and fueling insurgencies. Historically, external interventions have often deepened regional instability rather than resolving it, and the current trend suggests similar risks. The regional response to this new scramble remains cautious but increasingly aware of its implications. African Union and regional organizations like IGAD are calling for an approach that safeguards sovereignty, promotes regional integration, and avoids falling into the trap of external polarization. Diplomatic efforts are needed to foster transparency, conflict resolution, and cooperation among regional states so that the Horn's strategic importance becomes a catalyst for stability rather than chaos. In conclusion, the scramble for ports and bases in the Horn of Africa is a defining feature of the 21st century geopolitical landscape. While it offers opportunities for economic development and regional integration, the risks of conflict, dependency, and instability loom large. It is imperative for African governments, regional organizations, and the international community to adopt a nuanced, strategic approach, one that prioritizes peace and sustainable development. Only through collective responsibility and prudent diplomacy can the Horn of Africa navigate these turbulent waters and secure a stable, prosperous future for its peoples. The Horn of Africa should not be left for external influences who only use the location as a strategic chessboard for control of the vital economic and military waterway. 250 million people live in the region, with Ethiopia being home to more than half of the regional population. Big power competition or influences from any quarter must respect the aspirations of these populations to live in peace and with hope for growth and prosperity. Any attempt that ignores this will be doomed to be calamitous. As the scramble for asserting power for control of the sea along the Horn of Africa intensifies, it would be crucial to remember that there are hundreds of millions of people for whom the Red Sea should be serving as a natural gateway to, no matter current state of possession.
This is Editorial from Pulse of Africa, the voice and face of Africa.